funny times, and there are serious times. So let's go on an adventure. Hello and welcome to Capricious Conversations. Thank you for joining me on this fantastic day, and welcome back to the show, my good friend Sarah.
Hi.
So, remember when we started this show, I let you guys know that sometimes, a lot of times, it's going to be funny, because I like to be funny, and funny stuff is fun and funny. But there are also times when we're going to talk about the serious stuff, and today is one of those days. We're going to talk about some things that are maybe a little bit heavy, but that maybe some of you are dealing with. And I hope by us kind of addressing this issue that you will gain some insight for yourself and hope. And so that's what we're here to do. So we're here to talk because you and me, we grew up together for a lot of our lives, and we started going to the same church. You're a year older than me?
We're like half a year.
Yeah, so
you're
we're
the
super
same
close.
age, half the year.
Right. We're super close, and so we were friends when we were little, and my sister was really good friends with you. We were friends when we were little, and then there was a period of my life where I just kind of remember, like, you just weren't there anymore.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a long time, and I knew that I knew some of the stuff that was going on, but I didn't know all of it until really you got back this last time. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, because what was happening during those times was that you were seriously addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
And going through some really, really tough stuff.
Yeah, I was.
But now you're not, and your life is like totally turned around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we were growing up together, like, I remember your family didn't have it super easy.
No.
But what was kind of like your family situation?
Well, my family situation was my mom. She really loves the Lord, you know, and she had herself got set free from like alcohol and other things, and before I was born, and I was her last child. So
How many other kids does she have?
She has 3 older ones, you know, and then there's been a few that she's lost. So, however, when I was born, my dad I was his only child, and you know, my family situation, we went through a lot. They lost a baby when I was like 6 years old. And so I feel like God revealed to me one time that, you know, when that happened, like both my parents went into their like worlds. Like my dad went into like his world, which is like computer and alcohol and marijuana, and then my mom went into her world where it was like pills and just, you know, that kind of stuff. So I was kind of like left like
At a really young age.
Yeah.
And so things at your house were really difficult.
Yeah.
For you. And like I remember like knowing a little bit about it, but not much. I mean, because we were young. We were super little at that point.
Yeah.
Like 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was all happening to you, like, you were dealing with that from the time you were like
A
6.
kid. Yeah. Like,
That's
yeah.
crazy. So what was kind of like the catalyst? Like, when did it all kind of start for you? I mean, obviously, like, it started at that point when you were 6. But, like, when did you start kind of really pursuing that path?
Honestly, like, I feel like, because when I was in, like, 3rd and 4th grade, I went from homeschooling to Christian school. And then for, like, 5th grade, I went from Christian school to public school. So I feel like that had like a major impact on me as well as like my family situation. I just kind of got thrown into like, that's 3 different whole entire worlds, you know. And when I got thrown into the public school world, it was like I just did not fit in, you know. And so I just kind of tried to fit in where I could. And I ended up fitting in like with this one girl, you know, in my school. Her name was Casey, and we started running like away together, you know, ditching school together. And so I remember going to like her, like these houses, and you know, I like experimented with like marijuana or like alcohol, you know. And then finally
In 5th grade?
Yeah.
Wow.
No. Yeah. Well, no, that happened in 6th grade. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And so, because in middle school, that's when, well, it was like 5th and 6th grade that I was in public school. So, you know, and in 6th grade, that's a whole different world. I mean, kids are mean, and if you don't fit in, it's hard. It's really hard. And so it was really hard for me, and not having a stable family situation, it was just really hard. And so I found my escape, you know, in in running away and not having to deal with not having to deal with, you know, the family situation and the mean kids at school. So
Wow. So then, so you said you started like going to the neighborhoods, but when did you start like running away?
So I started like kind of running away for like a night or two, you know, and I don't remember the exact places I went. Like there were just other people's houses. And then one time I ran away and I ended up just finding my way to California, like just all of a sudden.
You just happened to end up in California.
Yeah, like it was.
I've been gone for a night or two before. I think California's no big deal.
Yeah, it just happened to where I just met these people and they were like, hey, we're going to California, and I was like, okay, I'll go with you, and I just went to California, and
How old were you?
I was 12.
12.
Yeah, and I ended up going out there, and I ended up, it was like 44 days. I remember, I don't know why I know the exact days, but I know the exact number of days. It was 44 days, and, you know, the people I went out there with ended up, like, leaving, you know, so I was just stranded out there.
They just left you there?
Yeah, they just left.
Wow.
And so, so I didn't know, like, and I just went from place to place to place to place, and so many things happened within that 40 days. It was just amazing. Like, I mean, my whole 12-year-old life just got turned upside down.
Well, yeah, I bet you did an awful lot of growing up in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, definitely.
So you ended up in California. What brought you back?
The cops.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we got pulled over one time in a car that had a busted taillight. I tried to give the cop a fake name, but he just knew off the bat. Like, I mean, he's obviously had experience with like runaways and stuff. So what ended up happening was I got flown out. After that, it just, like, I don't even remember, like, I kept running away after that. You know, I just kept running away. I had gotten, you know, it went from like marijuana to like crack cocaine. So at that time I was, you know, that was just my escape. That was what I wanted. I just wanted to be high all the time. So
yeah, so then you started running away to like Denver.
Yeah.
And places like that. And did you like what made you start running away to Denver? Did you have like a group of friends down there? Or
honestly,
were you just like trying anything to get away?
Yeah, like I didn't want to be around my family. I didn't want to be in the situation I was in, and plus the drugs, you know, and plus there was a desire that I was trying to fill with guys, you know, and finding love and all this kind of stuff, like, and so most of the time it was like I'd meet a guy and go away with them, you know, and then that wouldn't work out or something would happen, so I would just, it was just really bad, like, you know, yeah.
And then you ended up, so you were in California, and then you came back, and then you were going to Denver a lot, and then somehow you ended up in Washington?
Okay, so that was like, so from like 13 to 19, I was on the streets like completely all the time. I was barely ever home. Like maybe a week here, a week there. If I wasn't on the streets, I was in jail. And if I wasn't in jail, I was high. Like, that was pretty much how it was from like 13 to 19. At 19, I was committed 0 to 2 years. It was actually like at 18, I was committed 0 to 2 years in a juvenile prison type of thing. And so what ended up happening was they were like, well, if we send you away, maybe, you know, you won't be able to like get in all this trouble, you know. And so they flew me out to Washington. They paroled me out there, and I went to go stay with my brother in Washington. And then I ended up finding all these people who did meth, and so it just
so actually went from kind of like bad to worse.
Yeah.
In Washington.
So I mean, if it doesn't matter, you know, where you go, like, it's a heart problem. You know, it's a heart problem, and if you're not like cured of that heart problem, which only God can do, you're gonna want to get high, and you're gonna find who. I mean, you can tell. Like, it's crazy because when you're on drugs, you can, you know, and even now, I know, like, when people are on drugs or what places to go, like, you know, it's just it's a heart problem.
So you were in Washington, and then you ended up in Montana.
Yeah, so I went to Washington with my brother. It ended up not working out where I was at with my brother, so I ended up going to like an Oxford home, which is like a sober living home. And then I met people who did meth, and so I ended up going to live with them. And then so I was with this guy named Jesse or whatever, and he went to go move to Montana, so I went with him. And so we stayed in Montana for 9 months, and then I finally left him because he was abusive too. So when you think about it, like anybody who's doing drugs, anybody who's angry, anybody who's doesn't have that connection with God is going to be hurting in some kind of way. Do you know? And it could be like some people just hurt very loudly, you know. Some people just hurt.
That is a really good way to say that.
Some people just hurt very loudly and they don't know what to do with their lives. Some people hurt very quietly, you know, and you would never know that they're suffering, like, you know. But I mean, it's just all different, I guess. Like,
so then after Montana, you came out here for not very long though, right? It was
no,
like
I came out here, I think I was like 20 or 21, and I came back out here for like a year and a half, and I did meth out. Like in Montana, I was pretty much sober most of the time because you can't get anything in Montana, whether it be whatever, like you just can't find it, you know. And so anyways, I came back out here and got back into like meth really bad.
And you went to California. How did you get to California the second time?
How I got to California the second time was like I had met some friends out here that weren't from here. They were from California, and like they were different. Like I guess in every kind of state, like you're gonna have like different kinds of people. I guess you could say. Like I don't know. Like that's how I felt. Like, you know, they just came from like a different type of life, like a different way of life, and they were just really different to me. So I kind of like really became close with them, and then one of them went back to California. And so when he went back to California, I was like, I'm done here. Like, like you can't find like people like this too much. And so I went and I ended up taking this guy's car who like I knew him and we had some problems before. So I just like fed him a bunch of lies, and then I went and I took his car. I told him that I was gonna go get my stuff and move into his house and pay him for rent or whatever. And then I ended up just taking his car to California, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you stole his car and you got out to California, but like, did you have like money, or how did you even get the car out there?
No, it's crazy, and this is, I don't know, you know, God only knows how he was working in all of this, and I only have my perception of how he was working in all of this. So sometimes I can say, well, I think he did this, or, you know, but he only knows how he was working. So I can only say how I thought he was working. And so how I think he worked is that when I left, I went on I was on E almost when I left, and I didn't have any money, anything. I just had my suitcases and my stuff in the back seat, and that was it. And I left and I went to I-70 East, or no, to I-70 West, and I stopped at the 7-Eleven, and I was like, I asked this guy was coming out, and he had like all these lottery tickets, right? And so I asked him, I was like, hey, do you have a couple bucks? Like, I need gas. Like, I'm trying to get to the next town. I'm on my way to California, you know? And he was like, oh, sure. And like suddenly he just offered to fill up my tank. So then I went to, it was like Beaver, Utah. And I got there and I was almost out of gas. And, you know, I was like driving around for a minute. I was like, what am I going to do? So I just went to this gas station, and there was this guy using his card to like fill up his tank, you know? And so I was like, hey, like, I forgot what I asked him or how I asked him, but like he just filled up my tank again. Like
That's
he was
amazing.
like, yeah, like how much do you think it is? And I was like $30 to fill up my tank. And so, and this guy was weird. He was like doing push-ups at the gas pump. Like, so he was just a weirdo. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? You know? And so, and then I ended up making it all the way to Fontana, California, and my friend had me meet his mom at Walmart in Fontana, and she ended up giving me $20 just to make it the rest of the way.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I made it. It was pretty. I was falling asleep on the interstate. It was kind of crazy.
So that was like all in one stretch. Like you didn't stop.
Yeah, I
except for
didn't
the gas
really stop. I
stations.
like stopped to take a nap a couple times, and that was it. Not. It took me about 24 hours to get there.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
dude. That's amazing. So we're gonna talk more about like your kind of experience in California and then what brought you back out here, but we're gonna do that in another episode.
Yeah.
So thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And if you have a story that you feel is kind of like this, or you feel like you know somebody who would benefit from watching this, please share it with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.